V'karata l'Shabbat oneg. You shall call the Sabbath a delight. These lights we kindle are a symbol of joy. May their brightness lift our spirits and fill our hearts with happiness and peace. If you're with us at home, please make sure that you are lighting your candles with us. And for those in the sanctuary, you're welcome to stand up as we light our candles. And we begin our service on page 75. Page 75.
I'd like to say Shechianu. First of all, that I'm back here in Shul and in the sanctuary. But also, it suddenly struck me, in all the years I've been here, I've never lit the candles. And so it's never a bad time to say Shechianu when we thank God for giving us life and preserving us in life and enable us to gather on this Shabbat evening. And if you want to join with me, then do so. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kiyamanu v'hikyanu
lazman hazeh.
And you have to mumble behind your masks. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And if you are stood up at home, then please feel free to be seated.
The Sabbath has descended to enfold us in its mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gift of time. Time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May our Sabbaths always be sanctuaries of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessing to our people.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borechem LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baroni LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitichem LaShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
The Eternal One reigns. Let the earth rejoice.
Let the many isles be glad.
Clouds and darkness surround you.
Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne.
Your lightnings illumine the world.
The earth sees and trembles
Mountains melt like wax before you, O God.
before the ruler of all the earth.
The heavens proclaim your righteousness.
And all the peoples behold your glory.
Zion hears and is glad.
The daughters of Judah rejoice in your judgments.
For you are supreme over all the earth.
You are exalted far above all other gods.
Light dawns for the righteous.
And joy for the upright in heart.
Let the righteous rejoice in you.
And give thanks to your holy name.
Please rise. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Vaed.
Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. We praise the Eternal One, to whom our praise is due forever. Please be seated. And my apologies to those at home with my amateur page turning. But let us all, as I think we're now on the same page, read together. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Va'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol ma'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh, Asher anochi metzavacha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'aderech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please be seated.
All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly, we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together.
מי כמוך בלב אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורות תהילות עושה פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותכננו עצה טובה מלפניך, בהושיענו למען שמך, והגן בעדנו, והעשה מעלינו אויב דרך, וחרב רב יגון, והרחק ממנו עוון ופשע, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי הם שומרנו ומצילנו אתה, כי המלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמוע צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל יושבי תבל. Please rise. Eternal God, open up our lips that our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב וחושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, וחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated, and I realise that I've done a misservice for those in the sanctuary as well, because I wasn't giving page numbers, but we're now on page 99. If you did get a little bit lost, then my apologies. But together, we can all sing.
B'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts. And may all Israel, who hallow your name, be exalted by its peace. We praise you, eternal one, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Ratzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amacha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel, u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'ata levadecha, bi'ira na'avot.
We continue together.
Modim anachnu lach, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו לעולם ועד. צור חיינו, מגן אישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר
וצהריים.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, ולך נאה להודות.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך הדור, לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך הדור, לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם.
say, Hashalom. We pause now for our own thoughts. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer.
Shalom in Roma, Uya say Shalom, Alleluia, Kol Yisrael, Be'al Bnei Adam.
The trees are in full leaf, making the countryside and our gardens so green. Shabbat in the middle of summer, and as often happens, Wimbledon bringing the showers with it. Trees and Shabbat. You may recognize these words. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree, grow tall like the cedar of Lebanon, planted in the house of the Eternal One. They shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bear fruit in old age. They shall ever be fresh and green, proclaiming that God is just, my rock in whom there is no flaw. I promise not to give a sermon asking for sympathy because of my increasing years, though Psalm 92, Tov Lahodot, is headed Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, a psalm for the Sabbath day, but it also seems to be quite comforting for one as you get a bit older. Maybe always be as creative as a palm tree. May our back be always as straight as a cedar, bearing fruit fresh and green as the years go by, planted in the courts of the Eternal One, as I feel privileged to be tonight, instead of sitting in the study in front of a computer screen, actually standing in God's house. Please God by you, soon and in our time. There is a midrash on this psalm that goes like this. Planted in the house of the Eternal One, this refers to Abraham, who the Holy One of blessing brought to the land of Israel. They shall flourish in the courts of our God. This refers to Ishmael. In old age they shall bear fruit. This refers to Isaac. They shall be ever fresh and green. This refers to Keturah. Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, you know well. But Keturah. One modern Bible commentator said, she is the most significant ignored person in the Torah. And of course, we might add significant ignored woman, whose name is in the Torah, but a name most of us have never heard of. Genesis chapter 24 opens, Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah, presumably his third wife, if you count Hagar as more than a concubine. And Genesis continues with the names of the 6 sons that Keturah bore to Abraham, and then a list of 7 grandchildren. Talk about lost families. How many of you heard of those people? Of course, only sons are mentioned. That's how it is, as the Bible tells it. But in the Midrash I quoted, you should note that all 3 mothers are mentioned. Sarah, the mother of Isaac, Hagar of Ishmael, and Keturah, the mother of 6 named children. And so she gets the verse, in old age they still produce fruit. They're full of sap and freshness. According to Rabbi Jill Hammer, in her Jewish Book of Days, there is a rabbinic tradition that Abraham's children are symbolic of different nations. Isaac the Jews, Ishmael the Arabs, and Keturah's descendants, the Punic peoples or the Phoenicians. Surely this tells us that we should consider all of Abraham's descendants special and our kin. And this thought reminded me of two recent personal events. 10 days ago, Sharon and I bravely ventured on the train, because we hadn't done it for a long time and didn't know we were doing the right thing. We ventured to Stamford Hill, where we saw Jews quite different to our tribe, and we saw also people from all peoples, shops for all nationalities, seemingly at ease with each other. We went there so that Sharon could dedicate 2 vehicles in the name of our member, the late Rosemary White, arranged by Jewish Child's Day. One of the vehicles was a car adapted so that anybody can borrow it to transport a wheelchair, and another larger van used to deliver all sorts of medical equipment for those in urgent need, from the state-of-the-art hospital bed to a walking stick, a dehumidifier to a breast pump. It's an amazing charity called Ezra Umarpe, Help and Healing, and it's run by ultra-Orthodox Jews, but we found out they will loan equipment to all sorts of Jews and to non-Jews as well. Anybody who needs help in coping with a sudden emergency in healthcare. We were there with the honorary officers, Haredi Jews in their traditional dress, and youngish women, all with shaitels, who actually run the organizations. But there, Sharon spoke about Rosemary, and I said a blessing. The keys were handed over to the driver, a young man with payas straight out of Shtisel. Rosemary would have approved that her money was being well spent, because though she was a loyal member of our shul, she got on with Jews of all ages, especially if they played bridge. And I thought, how easy we categorize Jews, how skeptical we may be of the Haredim, feeling they often embarrass us, appalled by their behavior, and sometimes this is true. But Ezra Umarpe showed me that there are also Haredim who are not just inward-looking, but found in a charity that freely gives help to anybody in need. Yes, even to Keturah and Ishmael's children. Another snippet may be less significant. I'm glad to be back playing table tennis at my club, socially distanced, of course. And I'll leave you to imagine how you do table tennis socially distant, but there you go. But anyway, talking to a member who I knew was a big leader, a macha, at the Neasden Temple, we talked about life during COVID time. They too moved online with the temple closed to its Hindu congregation. But now they are also planning to reopen just as we do tonight. And my friend is in charge of the security and needed to retrain the volunteers. And who is doing the training? The Jewish CST. We hear of so much tribal and national enmity, insularity, and yes, there is too much ethnic distrust, well publicized. But it is good to know and to remind ourselves that there are so many other stories, less trumpeted, of generous giving to others, acts of friendship and real charity, tzedakah, of healing and help, Ezra Umarpe. It's good to tell the hidden name of Keturah. It does us good occasionally to dwell on the less publicized stories of tzedakah, of righteousness. Sadiq katama yifrach. May the righteous blossom like a palm tree, bringing fruit and life, and even hope, even in a dry desert. Amen.
Concluding prayers that you can find on page 520. Page 520. And please rise. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of its Creator, whose unity it is our mission to make known, whose rule it is our task to make effective. Notei Shemayim v'yosed Aretz, u'moshav yakaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'gov hei meromim, u'Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes zulato, kakatuv b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, v'al ha'aretz mitachet ein od. As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life and who are no longer in our midst. On this Shabbat, we recall the yahrzeit of Bertie Tzark, the uncle of Annabelle Cohen, Ephraim Freeman, the father of Sandy Edelman, Lynn Edelman, the mother of David and Keith, of Gordon Conradi, the father of Richard, and Sam Schrager, the father of Angela Conradi, of Helen Osorio, past member and benefactor after whom the hall next door to us, which, oh gosh, let's hope we can be filling it soon, is dedicated. Jane Rayner, the mother of Jacqueline Newman, Morris Max Blind, the brother of Renee Simmons, and Reuben Block, the father of Rachel. And we're saddened to announce this week the death of John Barnett, husband of Alyssa and father of Helen and Louise. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we'll always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name as we do together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chai echon v'yom echon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavarach le'olam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'itpa'ah v'tromam v'itnaseh. V'tada v'talei v'talal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei Adam. V'imru. Amen. Please be seated. It is a joy to have a congregation in the sanctuary as well as surrounding around the world. It's wonderful as ever for our twin community in Lviv in Ukraine to be joining us, and we always send huge love and support to you. To Dad's colleague and peer, Rabbi Howard Berman, who again is reminding us of the tragedy in Florida and is thinking of all those caught up in the tragedy there. Others who are remembering sadness and sorrows, but also celebrating as well an Oneg Shabbat. And Michael and Alice, we're delighted of your wedding anniversary this week. And perhaps in the chat you'll let us know what else that you're celebrating as well. It's wonderful, of course, to have Rose playing piano. We're sorry you didn't see her face tonight, but the pictures didn't quite work out, but to have Mum and Dad here as well. We hope it's not too overindulgent of us. Nor that it's too overindulgent of us as well for the choice of music. It's very interesting how people say, well, I like this music or that music, and looking in our congregation this evening, there are people of different generations and of different backgrounds. Today, a gentleman at Edgware came up to me and said, after we had recited Kaddish together, "Why do you pronounce things in this strange way?" He, of course, wanted everything to sound Ashkenazi. In our Hebrew classes now, it's fascinating to hear the people who pronounce as Ashkenazim did. And now how Ashkenazim do, because there's a resurgence of young people looking at Yiddish. And so we get young people, especially from our Edinburgh community, and people from Glasgow who are pronouncing all the Oz all over the place, and Shabbos as they want to.
Good.
And we let them, because that's the plurality of Judaism and pronunciation.
Maybe it's just Scottish. Maybe it's not Ashkenazi, it's just Scottish.
I think they're not all Scottish, that's for sure. But there's something special going on in Glasgow. But it's wonderful for us to be able to pick different genre of music as well. And so we conclude with a Yigdal, which is from
Morocco and Turkish.
Moroccan, Turkish. Okay,
Different people claim it.
Different people claim it Moroccan, Turkish, but certainly a Sephardi lilt. A different tune for Yigdal. Let us all join our voices together wherever we are in song.
Yigdal Elohim Hai, Shabbat.
Page 526.
Shata. חיי עולם אתה בתוכנו, ברוך הדיין שתהילתו.
Please rise. מי ששיכן את שמו בבית הזה, הוא ישכין ביניהם אהבה ואחווה, ושלום ורעות. May the one whose presence dwells in this house and all our homes cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among us. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to you
Shabbat shalom.
and Judith.